Denny Hamlin has been at the forefront when it comes to discussing safety issues around the next-gen car. Last year, and months before the new car ever made its debut, the Joe Gibbs Racing driver and Kevin Harvick were the two most outspoken about safety concerns. In July, Hamlin didn't hide his feelings when asked about potential safety issues with the next-gen car and NASCAR's lack of transparency in addressing those issues.
When it comes to the crash stuff, I've asked questions to two different NASCAR people, executives. I can't get a response. So that to me it makes it even scarier. So it's like, it's just, man, the disconnect right now between all the parties, NASCAR, the tracks, and the drivers, it's tough right now. It's not in a good place.
At the time, Hamlin said it was incumbent on the drivers to work together in the future to ensure they were driving the safest cars possible.
In 7 years, I'll be a team owner only, but these drivers, they need to get organized because their safety's at risk if they need to know what they're getting strapped into. So they need to get organized and they need to have a voice and they deserve to have a seat at the table, whatever that table is.
Fast forward to this season. Numerous drivers, including Hamlin, Harvick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Bubba Wallace, have all talked about the hits being more intense, even when it appears to be lesser impacts. What's been especially problematic are those crashes where the car backs into the wall. Kurt Busch did it during qualifying at Pocono. Alex Bowman did it just over a week ago at Texas. Both rear impacts, both concussions. Last Thursday, the announcement of Bowman's injury and pending absence unsurprisingly hit a nerve with the drivers. Hamlin and Harvick both shared their thoughts on Twitter. On Saturday at Talladega, they had company. Bowman's Hendrick Motorsports teammates Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott got in on the action.
I don't feel like we should have ever been in this position to begin with to need to go forward. We should have gone forward with a new opportunity at a new car, in my opinion. I mean, you have all these years of experience and knowledge and time of racing and crashing these cars and teams working on them and building them, and it just blows me away that we can have something new in 2022 that offers all this technology and all this time and experience of so many just super talented people in this sport, and we allow it to go backwards. Especially with safety, I just think it's just super surprising to me, that we allow that to happen.
When the typically reserved Elliott speaks up, it's serious. Hamlin also joined in on the conversation with reporters and opted to take his critique game to another level, including some surprising comments, even by Hamlin's standards.
The car needs to be redesigned. That it needs a full redesign. I mean, it can still be called next gen, but it needs to be redesigned. We brought up these concerns with NASCAR last winter. We actually, as the drivers, didn't do that docuseries last year because we didn't feel comfortable with this next-gen car and the safety, the lack of safety testing that had been done before they started announcing that they were going to run it. So it's just we threw up red flags over a year ago, and they just didn't respond. They just kept pushing that this car's got to be on the racetrack at all costs.
At one point in the 10-plus minute session with reporters, the Athletic's Jeff Gluck asked the JGR driver about what he and Harvick are trying to accomplish with their tweets lately. That question led to an exchange between the driver and reporters that produced another eye-popping remark.
Trying to get someone to talk to us and listen.
And you don't feel like that's still happening?
Nobody has reached out to either one of us.
Denny, this car was even delayed a year with the pandemic, so how are we still in this position where it's this bad?
Bad leadership.
Last time I can think of anybody getting hurt this often was back in the 90s, and that obviously resulted in what we don't want to talk about, but how do we avoid something like that from happening again?
New leadership.
When you say bad leadership, who specifically?
I don't know, you can just start at the top and work your way down.
At the top of the NASCAR hierarchy is President Steve Phelps. He's been in charge of the organization since 2018 and has been influential in overseeing multiple changes, including the addition of new tracks and the introduction of the next-gen car. Before Sunday's race, Hamlin met with Phelps and discussed safety concerns among a variety of topics. Hamlin admitted as much after the race when asked by reporters. He also sounded dramatically different than his remarks just the day before.
I don't have any details on it, but I'm great friends with Steve Phelps. He is a leader that we need. He is not who I direct any of my comments toward, because he's a huge asset for our sport. So me and Steve talk about much bigger and broader things than just safety of car and stuff. He's got a lot bigger tasks ahead of him. So I don't task him or bog him down with knick-knack things like car safety.
Knick-knack things like car safety? A knick-knack by definition is a small, worthless object. So Hamlin now considers car safety a worthless object? That statement alone makes absolutely no sense after what Hamlin has said for more than a year now. And incredibly, that was just the tip of the iceberg. His statement about Phelps being a leader that we need is a complete 180 from his comment the day before about starting at the top and working your way down for a change in leadership. Phelps is the top. But now, somehow, fans and more importantly, drivers who have been following Hamlin's lead are now suddenly supposed to believe that Phelps is not responsible for any of the safety issues. If that were the case, why didn't Hamlin specifically suggest in his Saturday remarks that the NASCAR president was part of the solution? It's hard not to draw a direct link between Hamlin's meeting with Phelps before the race at Talladega with his over-the-top flattering remarks about the executive after the race. As we all know, NASCAR has a reputation of calling drivers down to the hauler to address comments deemed controversial or detrimental to the sport. Hamlin's remarks fit perfectly in both categories. Whether or not Hamlin changed his tune about a change of leadership because of his meeting with Phelps will likely never be known. What's most concerning about all of this is Hamlin, who had built up some credibility over the last year with his comments about safety in the next-gen car, has now given everyone a reason to question his judgment. And that's unfortunate, because drivers need strong leadership now more than ever. They need those who won't waver in the face of pressure and won't back down from the higher-ups at NASCAR. That's exactly what it looks like Hamlin has done here. And because of it, it's hard to blame any of the drivers, or anyone else for that matter, from questioning his leadership and what he has to say going forward.